Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
The crack didn't start with lipstick or a stranger smell. It started with the way Mara's phone began sleeping face down. We've been married 8 years. I teach American history at a public high school. She runs corporate events, ballrooms, screens, cables that appear and vanish like circus tricks. We're not movie people. We're coffee and coupons, and knowing exactly which kitchen drawer the rubber bands live in. Or we were, until I realized I could find everything except her. The first weirdness was tiny. Her toothbrush stopped charging in the bathroom. It lived in her tote instead, like it needed an alibi. Then the perfume changed. Mara is vanilla and cedar. Suddenly there was something sharper, peppery, like a lie that leaves a scratch. Wednesdays used to be leftovers and a show. Then book club sprouted on the calendar. Not the library kind. The meetups rotated. Private homes with addresses that pinned to neighborhoods I couldn't afford in college. I made a joke about them reading the same book for 3 months. She smiled too brightly and said, "We don't keep score." I didn't snoop. I ledgered. I opened a note on my laptop called Attic, because secrets live above and below us. I started writing little things I could deny later if I needed to. First 7:42 p.m. Phone DND. Shower 2 at 11:21. Sat 3:12 p.m. Site visit. Comes back with no dust on shoes. Wet 8:56 p.m. Book club. Returns 12:14 a.m. Hair curled like someone else's fingers did it. You tell yourself this is nothing until it is everything. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. 6:18 a.m. Tuesday. She was in the hallway whispering, laughing the way she laughs when she's finally on vacation. I heard, "Stop. Hayes home. I told you." I sat at the edge of the bed and felt the smallest part of me break so quietly I thought I imagined it. That night she left 4 proofs. I left 10 minutes later. I'm a boring man, but I can follow a taillight. She turned into a brick building with blacked out windows, tiny brass plates by the buzzer. Sable circle. It sounded like a salon for haircuts you can't afford, or a wine club that promises redemption in a bottle. I parked across the street. The door opened. Women went in ones and twos, no books. Before Mara slipped inside, a woman in a red scarf stepped out, holding a small stack of pale grey cards. She tucked one under the wiper of my car, like she knew exactly who I was. I waited until my pulse stopped being a siren and took it. The card had no logo, just a cur and 3 words in raised black letters, for space. Safely. Back at home, Mara breezed in at 11:59. A strand of hair out of place, like an intentional smudge. "You're up," she said, surprised and not. "Grades," I said, which was true and also a way not to say, "What's your red scarf club?" She kissed my forehead and said she was tired. I stared at the card until the words for space felt like a riddle with a blade in it. The next day, I scanned the cur on a burner tablet I use for exams. It opened a smooth, white onboarding page with gentle fonts. Sable, a private network for women managing complicated commitments. It offered alibi utilities, ride privacy, timestamp scheduling, concierge check-ins, peer mentorship. The copy was clean and shameless. It never said affair. It never had to. A login required a referral code. The card had none. 2 days later, my sister Talia, family law paralegal and human lie detector, brought coffee over and listened without moving. The way she does when she's deciding whom to hurt on my behalf. "I know Sable," she said. "They call it a safety net. It's a cover ring. Think our sponsor, but 4 lies. Women co-sign alibis for each other. Handlers arrange cars, stubborn receipts, phone trees. No one uses their real name. It's organized. Like a crime," I said. "Like a club," she said. "With dues. Can you get me in?" She frowned. "You're not their demographic, Ethan." "You are," I said, immediately hating the sentence. She sighed and texted someone. "I can get you read-only through a test case. You won't post, you won't ping. You'll see patterns." That night Talia called me with a temporary login. I opened it like a bathroom door I didn't want to. Inside, pastel dashboards with names like Harbor, Lighthouse, Rowan, Juniper, schedules, check-in pings, Uber-like maps with moving dots running laps around the truth. "Mentor, Rowan," said one profile. The avatar was a sprig pressed into paper. It belonged to a user called Greyfinch. Greyfinch's circle included 4 women whose status pulsed green on Wednesdays. One handle hit me like a finger tapped my sternum. Lighthouse. Location hints blurred, not hidden. The same 3 neighborhoods as Mara's book club. A note in Lighthouse's activity. Wednesday. Circle 8:30 check. I closed the tablet. Then I opened Attic and wrote, Lighthouse equals Mara. The part of me that still liked optimism wrote a question mark. Talia sat with me at the kitchen table and taught me how to read Sable like a cop reads a caller. See the sandglass feature, she said, pointing to a little icon that looked like an hourglass tipped sideways. It schedules delayed texts with real GPS stubs. She can leave the office from your driveway and be stuck in traffic while she's 12 miles away. The phone will ping the places you already believe. The concierge check-ins. Handlers, she said. Rowan is one. They message women mid-date with medical excuses. Safe word versions for Uber. Or 911. Migraine, mother. Migraine 2. That one means get me out now. And call this number. There's also a kill switch wipes the last 3 hours of location and scrubs photos that match that window. It's polished. Expensive. Cheaper than a divorce, she said. Neutral like a judge reading a parking ordinance. Lighthouse, I said. And my voice broke in the middle like the sentence had a step I missed. Talia didn't touch my hand. She nodded at the tablet. You don't need a confession if you can read a clock. But if you want one, you'll need to break the other thing first. What other thing? The story she tells herself, Talia said. Everyone in there has one. Ear mode. I'm exploring. He doesn't see me. It's safer this way. Break the story, or you're just cross-examining a new religion. That night Mara was soft with me in bed. The way she is when she's soothed by a decision she hasn't said out loud yet. It wasn't guilt. It was distance with lotion on it. Wednesdays came with a rhythm. Shower at 6:30. Hair at 7:10. Ride at 7:45. A faint message tone in the hall. 8:31 exactly. Sable's check. I felt crazy hearing to Universe's rhyme. I didn't confront. I watched. I documented. Sable showed Rowan pinging the lighthouse with the same 3 phrases every week. Hydrate, ping if unsafe. Exit code ready. I made a folder called Rowan and filled it with screenshots. Half because evidence calms me. Half because I kept imagining this person as a behind-the-curtain villain with long fingers and a tinny laugh. In the chat archives, Rowan's voice was normal, efficient, like a bank teller who's seen everything. Then came the first proof that had a face. A Friday I shouldn't have been home. Teachers in service got cancelled for a water main break. Mara didn't know. She strode in at 11:40 a.m. with a man in a navy suit. He wasn't handsome, he was practiced. He smiled like a contractor who wants your kitchen and your soul. Just 10 minutes, Mara said to him. The projector's in the hall closet. I stood in the entryway, holding a stack of graded essays like a shield. Mara didn't startle. She didn't glare. She tilted her head, cool, almost bored. Babe, this is Rowan, she said. I blinked. He grinned. Not a woman's name, he said. I know. My mom is a gardener. Rowan. Handler. In my house. They moved like the room belonged to them. He fetched a box from the hall closet and set it on the table. He didn't touch Mara. Not once. Which somehow made everything worse. We're piloting a safer exits program, he said. Conversational as coffee. For women in events. You know the industry. I know teachers, I said. My voice sounded far away to me. Mara looked at me like a camp counselor, trying to prevent a kid from falling apart before the bus arrives. He's a risk consultant, she said. Vendors get creepy. Clients get entitled. He helps me make policies, train staff. Hey Sable, I said before my brain could ask my mouth to be careful. Rowan didn't blink. We prefer Sable, yes, he said. Small s, not a secret. A service. You sell alibis, I said. It landed in the room like a plate smashing slowly. Shards suspended in air. Rowan smiled a little. We sell accountability to the person buying the service, he said. You can call it cover. We call it space to decide. I call it a loaded gun, I said. He lifted his palms, like he'd spotted his card trick. Then don't buy it, he said mildly. And looked to Mara. The contract. She passed him a neatly paper-clipped packet. I recognized our printer's ink. The top page had both our names printed underneath the address line. I felt my stomach do. That elevator drop you pretend is fun. You forged me, I said. Mara's chin lifted by one imperceptible notch. I signed your name to authorize staff training at our home, she said. I didn't want to bother you. I grade essays on the couch, I said. I would survive a projector demonstration. Rowan slid the packet into his briefcase, as if a fight wasn't happening in the room. Well, be in touch, Mara, he said. To me, I appreciate your concern. Most men skip the concern part and go straight to threats. You have the patience of your job. Use it. The door clicked. I heard the elevator doors open, close, swallow him. I didn't throw anything. I put the essays down and sat. Tell me the truth, I said. All of it. No euphemisms. No space. Speak like it's court. She stood, arms folded, eyes dry. I haven't had sex with anyone, she said. Yet, I said. She didn't flinch. I joined Sable because the life I share with you makes me small. Because I wanted to decide something without your sanity and calendars. Because I am not done with wanting to be looked at like I'm the point of the room. I am not apologizing for wanting. That's not a sin, I said. It's a plan. You hired a team. A safe one, she said. I am not sneaking in alleys. I am not lying to put you in danger. I am not. You forged my signature, I said softly. You moved my trust like money between accounts. I didn't take money, she said. I paid for Sable with my own card. That's not what I said, I said. We stood there, two people with valid arguments and a marriage bleeding out between them. Do you love me? I asked. Yes, she said immediately. And I hated how much I believed her. Then don't do this, I said. She stared at me for a long time. Ethan, she said finally. I already did. You expect the big betrayal to be a night, a sock, a receipt. Mine was a storage unit. A week after Rowan's visit, an anonymous email hit my school account with one line. If you're going to ruin a life, ruin the right one. Bale Storage, Unit 409. Today, 4 p.m. Come alone. No signature, no flourish, just a location and a time like a math problem. I told Talia. She told me to tell the police. I didn't. I wish I could say I did. I didn't. I drove to Bale Storage at 3:55 and used my workid like a half-coat against common sense. The clerk didn't look up. I walked the rows until the numbers felt like a spell and found 409. Unlocked. Inside, a clothing rack with 6 dresses in Mara's size, but not Mara's style, bolder, shorter, red, a small table with a whisper-quiet thermal printer, a stack of glossy receipt paper, a money belt, a tote with 3 burner phones labeled in tidy script, Lighthouse A, Lighthouse B, Lighthouse C. On the wall, a corkboard with pinned cards, Uber screenshots, restaurant stubs, fake calendars with a loop signature that looked more like mine than my own. There was also a compact grey case the size of a novel. I opened it. Inside lay a device I recognized from a training on disinformation, a handheld Faraday pouch with a tiny icon, a sandglass the same as Sable's. There was a folder on the table labeled Exits, Phase 2. Inside, instructions, phrases, timers, a list of trusted recipients. To names made my lungs forget how. Principal where my boss and Sable Rowan. A step-by-step of how to stage my harassment scandal. Screenshots of chats. I never wrote photos of a blurred student face with timestamps. A script to record in a white room with a calm male voice describing my pattern. A list of who to send it to. In what order. To make it stick before the truth could arrive. There was even a letter drafted to the board, with my principal's name in the salutation, accusing me with the exact words that could suspend me into oblivion. Mara wasn't using Sable to cheat. She was using Sable to leave me, while ruining me quickly and cleanly. I don't remember leaving the unit. I remember standing outside in air so bright it felt fake. I remember Talia's voice on the phone. The way she said my name, a rope. Don't touch anything, Ethan, she said. We're calling a lawyer. And God help me, we're calling Rowan. Rowan, I said. He's the one with the rules, she said. Let's see if he wants to play by them. Rowan met us that evening in a coffee shop with brick walls and Edison bulbs, Sable's natural habitat. He didn't act surprised. He acted bored and a little sad. That's not a Sable kit, he said, after I described Unit 409 and showed him photos. It's adjacent. The font is wrong. The cardstock is wrong. That printer is a private purchase. The Faraday pouch is ours. The rest is freelance. Who's freelancing? I said. Mara. Rowan. Talia said softly, and slid her tablet across the table. On the screen, an export of Sable messages, Mara's lighthouse profile, and the thread titled Exit Stage Managed. The sender wasn't Rowan. It was a user named Greyfinch. Mentor, Rowan, the profile header said. Handler, who's Greyfinch? I asked. Rowan didn't answer. His jaw moved like he was chewing stone. You shouldn't have had access, he said to Talia. Then sue me, she said. But first, tell him who Greyfinch is. Rowan looked at me. Greyfinch is Mara, he said finally. Lighthouse is the decoy. She has two profiles, a public one I see and a private one I don't. She's not the only one who does that. It's not what we're for. We provide exits from danger, not to vengeance. Then why is my principal's name on a script? I said. Rowan's face changed in that quiet way people are trained to keep it from doing. Because your principal is on our board, he said. Pro bono. He helps us talk to districts when a woman needs to leave a violent partner who teaches. He's a donor. His name on that plan means someone wants to make you set yourself on fire. Who? Talia asked. Rowan shook his head. I don't know yet. I can find out. I will. But you need to not trigger the plan by confronting Mara like a man on a stage. I'm not letting her keep a trap with my name on it, I said. I didn't say that, he said. I'm saying, pick the room. Not hers. Not the storage unit. Pick a room that doesn't help the wrong story. We picked the boring room. Our dining table. I invited Mara to dinner. I told her Talia would be there because I am done pretending Talia isn't always there. I told Rowan to come. He wanted to keep Sable from looking like a wolf's den. Mara arrived in a black dress and a face she wears to interviews. She saw the three of us and rolled her eyes like we were cousins, about to ask for money. Is this an intervention? She said. It's a trial run, Talia said. For your exit phase 2. We changed the venue. Mara froze for a tenth of a second, the tell she has when a server brings the wrong dish, and she decides whether to accept it. She sat. You had no right, she said to me. Controlled. You had my name on forged documents and a fake scandal sitting in a locker with burner phones, labeled with my marriage, I said. Right is a word, I'm not renting from you anymore. She looked to Rowan, expecting a rescue. He didn't give her one. Sable didn't authorize phase 2, he said. You know that. You know what we do and what we don't. You sell cover, she said. Don't pretend it's spinach and seatbelts. We sell exits from men who break bones, he said. We sell rides at 3 a.m. when a husband is stationed outside a door. We don't sell reputational arson. She laughed once, ugly and clean. Men always think their reputations are the only real thing. Then why use mine as kindling? I asked. If you want out, go. You are allowed to leave a marriage. You are not allowed to salt the earth, so nothing can grow where I stood. Allowed, she said. Like the word tasted like chalk. 8 years I picked up your slack, while you fed children who weren't yours. Your students, your small gods. I wanted something that was about me. Sable let me have a room, where I didn't have to be the one who makes dinner when you fall asleep on the couch smelling like the worst day of someone else's life. I would have given you the room, I said. You hired a staff and locked me out. She looked at Talia. Of course he says that in front of a judge, she said. Talia didn't flinch. I'm not your judge, she said. In your mirror. I'm the one who's going to ask why your exit needed to include burning Ethan's job before you walked. Leaving isn't a crime. This plan is. Mara's face cracked then. Just a hairline. Because you don't leave men like Ethan and Stacent, she said. You leave men like Ethan, and you're selfish. You're the villain. You wrote the wedding vows into your nervous system, and then wonder why your hands shake when you tried to untie the bow. I wanted to walk out not wearing a costume. I wanted a clean break. You wanted applause, I said. So you wrote me as the villain. The quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was full of all the things we did right and wrong with each other for 8 years. Finally Mara looked at Rowan. Are we done? She said. Are you going to revoke my access like a credit card? Am I banished from the sisterhood? Rowan folded his hands. You're suspended, he said. And I'm very tired. Not because you used us, but because you made me defend men to a woman I came here to protect. You're not the worst person in my files. You're also not the hero of this story. Make a choice that doesn't require fire. She stood. I made it, she said, and looked at me. You'll hear from my attorney. Good, I said. So will the board. So will the DAR if Unit 409 breathes the wrong way. She left. The door didn't slam. It sighed. Rowan let out a breath, like he'd been holding it since I first said his name in my kitchen. He'll have 409 cleaned, he said. Not erased, logged. If she tortures you anyway, he'll testify that Sable didn't stamp that plan. You'll testify, I said, surprised into gratitude. He nodded. I prefer my walls visible. The first bottom was the affair that wasn't sex. The second was the exit that wasn't escape, it was an execution plan. After the dinner, everything moved not quickly, but cleanly. Like a chess game, you realize you've been losing since the fourth move. I met a lawyer who smells like printer toner and wins by not blinking. We filed a notice. We froze joint credits. I moved my pay to an account with my own name on the door. I documented Unit 409 with time-stamped video and emailed a copy to my principal and to myself, subject line. If I disappear, here is why. Principal Ware called me into his office. He closed the door, sat, and did the thing good administrators do when they're human. He listened. We partnered with Sable for staff safety at events, he said. Not this. I know how quickly the wrong story can eat a person. You're not alone, Ethan. Internal affairs poked around, shrugged, and moved on to someone else's scandal, because I had receipts and a boring life. Talia kept me angry enough to do the right thing and soft enough not to invent the wrong thing. Rowan sent 3 emails full of logs I didn't want to read, and the final one with a line I did. There are exits from Revenge too. Mara moved out on a Tuesday with a tidy list of items she'd take. She took the copper pans, the plank she nursed from a stick, and a framed photo from our first apartment, us on a futon, laughing, broke, happy. She did not take the wedding album. I found it on the top shelf, like the coffee mug we'd both forgotten to use. We didn't war in public. We didn't weaponize group chats. She sent a settlement that didn't attempt to tax my future. I offered a version that didn't force her to publish a letter to the board. We landed in a middle that felt like a room where no one has to yell. She kept Sable's number. I kept the attic folder and, eventually, zipped it and dragged it to archive. On my first free Saturday in months, I fixed the cabinet door that had been hanging just wrong. It was nothing one screw too short. The wood chewed. I replaced the screw with the right length, and it held like it had been waiting for someone to treat it like it mattered. Weeks later, a Sable postcard arrived addressed to current residents. For space. Safely. I put it in a drawer, not because I hated it, but because the words didn't belong to me anymore. I wish I could give you a bloodier ending. I wish I could tell you I exposed Mara with steak knife monologues in front of her friends, or that Rowan turned out to be a Bond villain, and I set his briefcase on fire in a church. The truth is, most betrayals end like this. Paper, emails, a locksmith at 9 a.m, a quiet apartment, the smell of old cologne that isn't anybody's crime. Sometimes, late, I think about the women in the Sable lobby, heels in hand, hair sprayed into place, telling themselves a story so they could walk a little farther into it. I don't hate them. I hate the rooms that taught them to want applause more than oxygen. I hate the part of me that wanted to be applauded for not burning everything down. Talia asked me once, over pancakes, if he'd take Mara back if she knocked with no plan in her pocket. No, I said, and meant it. But I don't need her punished to know I exist. In my own attic, the literal one, above our bedroom, I keep one box packed. Copies of the receipts that saved me And the smallest I wrote on the back of the Sable card in thick, stubborn marker. Confront the story, not just a symptom. If an exit requires a fire, it isn't an exit. Love doesn't need handlers. I like to think him not bitter. I still teach bored juniors about reconstruction and remind them that clean breaks are mythic and that real repair looks like paperwork and meetings and people muttering under their breath while they try again. Sometimes, after last bell, I walk the track behind the school and let the quiet have me. The air smells like cut grass and untangled lies. I go home. The kitchen is boring and mine. I put a coffee mug on the counter and use it. I leave my phone face up. I sleep like the room has 4 walls and no app. If you need a moral, it'll give you 2. First, cheating can be a bed, a text, or a committee with a logo. The damage is the same trust bent into a tool. Second, the double bottom isn't always sex beneath lies. Sometimes it's revenge beneath safety. Check your rooms. Choose your exits. Don't let anyone sell you a matchbook with a bow. If you stayed to the end, thanks for riding with a story where the affair was real, but the deeper cut was the engineered exit meant to salt the earth. If you like confessions with sharp turns and double bottoms, subscribe to End Stories. New stories drop every day, and there's already a stack on the channel ready to watch and listen.